Hi, everybody. So good to be back. And we have another episode today of the Divine Awakenings podcast series. And I've got another beautiful guest today. And this is Andrew, and he is known as Lionheart. He's a visionary New Earth leader, rites of passage guide, a humanitarian, master alchemist, and breathwork facilitator. And, you know, your CV is probably a lot more than that. You're a speaker across the world, and there's so much wisdom and knowledge that you've got based on your teachings and being supported by your guru, which we'll get into all of that. And I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for saying yes for coming on my podcast and sharing amazing wisdom that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, happy to be here,
And
Sarah. And yeah, I'm excited just what's meant to flow through for the highest good, of everyone that's gonna receive it. And yeah, excited to share some beautiful codes with everyone with what we're going through and the breath and evolution and whatever we talk about.
yeah, and like I said to you before we jumped on, like I'm not one for having all of these questions written down. I kind of like, I don't know if that's like the Piscean in me. I'm very watery, so I like to kind of flow. And so yeah, we'll just surrender. And my relationship and connection with Yeshua has just been unfolding so beautifully over the last year. And so I trust and surrender that they're going to guide this conversation as it needs to. And so I reached out to you after doing your breathwork class that was part of the Laurie Ladd community where she had you on as a guest. And I've done many breathwork sessions and courses, and not one like this, let's put it that way. And the experience I had was so powerful and profound. I knew I had to reach out and give you a testimony and then get you on my podcast to share because so I'll just give you a little bit of background so you know, and for those who are watching, and your with your breath work, why I feel it's so unique, and it's called dimensional breath work, and you'll get to share your story around how you came to that. It for me, you're so connected with bringing in the light of God in your sessions, which I've never experienced that before, or where everybody's actively bringing in that relationship and the light of God as part of that session. And so I really love that. And I think that's why I had the experience I had, because I have been building that relationship and connection in with the light of God. And so what happened, I went through this huge, so basically I knew I'd come back from Christmas. There were so old patterns starting to surface that was pulling me. And I could see, I was like, oh, something's quite off. And then I hadn't done your session live. It had been about 2 weeks after you'd done it. And then I was in bed in the morning. I was going to start my day, and then very loud in my right ear, I got breath work. And I was like, oh, I need to do that breath work session. And I was like, oh, I got distracted. Maybe I'll do it another day. He's like, no, actually, I don't have my daughter. Do the breath work session. Oh my God, thank God I listened to that voice that said breath work. And it was just a knowing. And yeah, within 20 minutes, I went for a huge deliverance. And that word's very new to me. And if you don't know what it is, go and research it. But it is essentially where you get demonic, well, I call it demonic or infiltrate energies are being cast out, basically. And I think as we were bringing in the light of God, this whole process was happening. It went on for a good while. And I felt these energies, they felt dark. I felt they were clinging on. They did not want to leave. I had Yeshua with me. And then as I was bringing in the light of God and doing the breath work and listening to your guidance, they were leaving. And you don't know that you're being your field or you've got these energies in you or in your field until they leave. And then you were like, oh, something's leaving me, something dark is leaving me. And since I've started to really build this relationship with God, I've had 5 different of these deliverances now. And so it's really powerful. Yours was my second one. And so, yeah, it's so thank you for saying yes for coming on, because I think it's very powerful, the breath. And yeah, and I'm just really, really grateful for the work that you're doing right now. And so let's go back, to the beginning, really. Like, what I would like to know, have you always had a connection with God, and how has that played out in your life?
Hmm. So my connection with God was really, I'd say not there, not existent until a very important incident in my life happened quite a few years ago now. My dad was my hero, and he was a legend, just such a profoundly beautiful man, and at the same time, uh, suffered from projecting his anger and his rage onto his family, my brother, my mom, nearly every day. And so it was really like his demise. And ultimately, that was what killed him at 54. And so when my dad left, yeah, it was shocking. It was devastating. And yeah, it was one of the hardest things I ever went through. I felt like I was literally gutted on the ground, like just like crawling for months. It just, life didn't make sense. I was spewing, and I just adored my dad. He was just such a special, charismatic. Just people were obsessed with him because he just lit up a room. He was just such a unique character. And when I say character, he was an absolute character. um, and so when my dad passed, about 5 6 weeks, I started having dreams, and he started coming to visit me every night. And when I would go to bed, 10, 11, 12 o'clock, it would be like, okay, wow, I'm gonna see Pops when I go to sleep tonight. And within the first week, second week, the dream was the exact same message every night. And I would see him in the jungle. I would be at a gathering. I'd be at a barbecue. I'd be on a bridge in the middle of the forest crossing a river. And he would just pop out of nowhere. And I would be really startled because I would say the same thing. Like, whoa, I thought you were dead. And he would say, nah, Ange, I'm still here. Same thing next night. I'm in the desert. You're just walking across, going on some crazy treasure hunt of my dreams. They're wild. He'd just pop out of nowhere behind this rock, and I'd be like, "What are you doing here?" Same thing, startled. I thought you were dead. I'm still here, buddy. And so what I gathered after weeks was that even though he had left his physical form, he was letting me know that he would be by my side every step of the way as one of my guides. And it was not until then, 2012, when my dad passed in April, that I really knew that God existed. Before then, it was just like, I don't know, maybe, might. It was like, wow, God definitely exists, because that was just so profound. And it really wasn't until the entire slashing and destruction of my entire life, which is an entire story of itself, 7.5, 8 years ago, 8 years ago now, um, when I everything in my entire life was stripped. I had no money. My business was taken away. I had my health taken away. I could barely use my hands and arms just to grab a cup or a mug to dry my hair. I was reminded of it every single day. And I literally was like, okay, this is pretty intense. Am I like dying from some like rare disease? Like, naturally, my mom is, unfortunately, my mom's one of the many slaves to big pharma, and she has no idea what real health looks like, and that a doctor really doesn't know how to help anyone, really. And so they're just like, go to a doctor, go see if you can get help, go, maybe they know something. I'm like, these people don't know anything except how to just dish out pills and say you have this symptom, like just take this pill. And that was exactly what I got, exactly what I knew I would get from 3, 4, 5 different doctors. And so by this time, I was so defeated, frustrated. I remember walking by the Hudson River in New York City, where I was at the time, just being like, oh, just throwing my body in that river would be just so much easier than like the utter misery and just like confusion and just like, what the is this life, than what I was feeling in that moment. And it was the breath that took me back home to the true feeling of God, not just a concept in my mind, which was what it was for years, 2012, 13, 14, 15. 8 years ago in 2018, it was a real like, holy shit, God, the fire of God, the power of God, the love of God rests within you. And the most powerful way to access the light of God is within your own breath, the very thing that keeps you alive. And so that was my a very small snippet, and obviously I'm sure I'll have plenty more questions, but that was the very small snippet of what made me realize God within myself.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. And it's interesting, isn't it, when you have this like conceptual, intellectual understanding of God, and then when it becomes more embodied, you're like, wow, I really thought I was connected, but I'm not. I wasn't until now. And so you started to have this visceral knowing and feeling of experiencing God within you. And can you just explain to us that transition and how it really dropping from the conceptual into the feeling, that tangible?
Yeah, I think with how incredibly intense and how much just deep distortion and trauma I went through as a child, because I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, my parents' marriage was just horrendous. I mean, there was just so much constant friction, arguing, yelling, just how unhappy they were was, yeah, just utterly so sad to witness for that man for 18 years. And so I was so shut off and disconnected from, my body and feeling, because I had to shut down and dissociate so many thousands of hours of anxiety and overwhelm, and just my environment being so unstable and ultimately never feeling safe. So it was when I felt the breath starting to move through me, and all of a sudden I'm laying on the bed in New York City, and my whole body is just spiraling. And I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this. There's like, it feels like a being is like moving me. And like, it was just profound beyond words. Cause at this time I'm at the infancy stages of awakening, and just being like, whatever's happening is like nothing else I've ever experienced. I put together that I was moving, as energy. I was moving heavy emotions. I was moving sadness and grief and anger. And as I started feeling that sensation, it was just this. The best way to describe it is really just a feeling of I can make my home right here. I can create safety. I can create whatever I want here. So if I'm feeling depressed, if I'm feeling like nothing's ever going to change, if I feel like I'm not supported, well, let me support myself. Let
Mm,
me pour God into myself. Let me pour love into myself. And we do that with our conscious breath. And so I just continued to do that every day. And day after day, week after week, I was like, things are shifting. Like I'm healing. Things are happening. And so I started just playing with fasting, and I started eating just a lot less food during that time. In that season, it was just like, okay, no butter, no meat, no, just I just wanted to eat fruit and plants was what my body wanted. It
mm,
wanted less density, and it wanted more light. So that's
mhm.
what I did. And as I was moving that through my body and fasting and doing 72-hour fast, and a few days later a 48-hour fast, and a few days later a 96-hour fast, and a 24-hour, and I was just constantly really just in this unbelievable field of boundless curiosity, and seeing like what's here, and it was a very special time, very exciting time. But every day I couldn't, I was so excited just to like to feel God, and it moving through my heart and moving through my
Mm.
body, and feel this sense of hope. And there it was in this moment, reversing probably about 4 or 5 weeks before, where I was just walking down the street, and it was after coming home from one or two of the days where I was walking by the Hudson River and I was just so incredibly defeated and being like, fuck this life.
Mm.
How am I going to make it out of this? And I just heard, you have to let go. You have to surrender and you have to just trust in something greater than yourself. That thing that this is happening not to take you down, but to reveal something far grander, a life that you've never been aware of. And so I just followed my breath, and it was the breath that slowly continued to just another seed, another seed,
Mhm.
another seed, and with each week, with each month, that's what led me to just doing cryotherapy and acupuncture and getting massages and getting chiropractic. And during that time, I met this, beautiful woman um, who I was with for a very short period of time, about 2 months. And she was an acupuncturist, and she gave me so many sessions. And while it was a very short soul contract, it was very sweet, very nurturing, very kind, very loving. And she also helped awaken and help remember, who I was while, just giving me all these acupuncture sessions for free while having like no money. And then it was like, okay, you have to leave New York City. End of October, you have to go back to California, where I'm from, Los Angeles. You have to go back to Orange County, which is where I went at the time. And yeah, it was Orange County where I really did finished that chapter of 4 months of like deep intensity and 10-hour walks around New York City and people watching and just being blown open and so much information and wisdom coming through me. And in moments it was just overwhelming because I was just like, you're turning and transforming into like an entirely different person. And it was happening very, very fast, like a lightning speed train. And when I got back to California, and I was just like, okay, like this is your new life. And it was at that time where I started just exploring my breath, dozens, hundreds, and then years ahead, thousands of hours of exploring what this mechanism is of
Mhm.
God's medicine that is the breath.
Oh my God, that's just beautiful. And God has a plan for all of us when we really open up to that. And it's beautiful. And we become really energy sensitive, don't we? Like, I mean, I fasting was really what opened me up to another level of yeah, just the layer it's layered, isn't it? Another awakening, and fasting's been massive for me. And I'm starting a 40-day fast on the 1st of February, which is all being guided by God. And you don't do that by ego at all, do you? It's true surrender. And it's yeah, thank you for sharing that. And so it's interesting. So when you went to the breath, was it something that called you to, oh, I need to try breath work? Was there in that transition, did somebody talk about breath work, or was you aware that breath is powerful to move energy, or how did that come about?
So when I lost my business in Central America, in Nicaragua to be exact, there started coming this online, this deeper, because I was very interested in nutrition and herbalism for quite a few years, 2000, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, but there wasn't the consciousness piece. There wasn't the awareness of God within that. It was more of the awareness of the corruption of big pharma and food and our water, and it was missing that heart piece. And so the breath continued to make me realize the deeper understanding, the deeper knowing of everything of this existence, of the multidimensional aspect, of the spiritual aspect, of the cosmic aspect, of the thousands of years of distortion and prophetic times that we're living in. That really the breath continued to, show me and reveal to me. And it was just like, this message, this word, this very short phrase of breathe in God. Continue to breathe in God. And so when I would breathe, it was always just breathe in God. Meaning, breathe in the moment, breathe in this anxiety, breathe in this joy, breathe in
Mm.
the beauty of being at a festival and seeing the lights flashing all over your eyes and feeling the music, feeling the God in the music. It was just a whole nother level and perception of awareness, really, of the godliness in each moment. As I look at my window, seeing the blades of grass flickering in the wind, that's God.
Mm. Mm.
That's the movement of God. Seeing the birds on this tree over here, God.
Mm.
Each single feather on that bird handcrafted by God.
Mm.
And the very small subtleties of this life, that if we're not present with our breath, you're not truly present, because it's with the awareness that you are alive, you're breathing, that what's happened, that the intensity that you're experiencing is not happening to you but for you, getting out of victim mode, being present with our lover, and not just being there, but like truly unifying bodies, and going so deeply present into breathing God in with each other, and literally doing this sacred act that's been so distorted, that can literally do what? Create life. Which is why, ultimately, why we came, to continue to procreate and usher us into a new reality, a new existence, a new way of living, being, breathing, loving.
Wow, that's beautiful and simple. Just breathe God in. And if you can have that as your mantra of just saying that over and over again, God, your life will just shift, won't it? Like so much will change just like constantly saying that. And we're always doing like we're short breathing. We're not doing the full breaths, and it impacts our nervous system and yeah, how we don't feel safe as well. So has that been something that's really helped you anchor in that foundation of feeling safe by connecting in with the breath?
It's given me a sense of, well, let me rewind a little bit. When I found out about the breath, it was kind of like this, just I was just blown away. How are little kids in preschool and kindergarten not learning this? Why are they not learning this? And they should be learning this at the very foundation of sitting with the other kids in the class, starting the day and being like, okay, before we get going, you all, we're gonna breathe. Pick one kid in the class you want to breathe with, connect with them, look into their eyes, and just do something really simple that a 4-year-old child can do. Take 3 breaths or 4 breaths, 5 breaths. Maybe more than that might be a little bit too long for a 4 or 5-year-old. But just having them get in that practice of like, okay, before I start my day, before we start learning, before we go exploring, before we go foraging in the woods for mushrooms today, or whatever the activity is, we're going to drop into our body. We're going to be present. We're going to breathe. Like, how powerful would that be to implant and program into all these little children, that before they start their day, they know that they're going to breathe first consciously, feel their body, tap into their heart, and be present with this other little human that's sitting right in front of them. Powerful, life changing.
Mm. Yeah.
So it is something as simple as literally just breathing consciously throughout the day multiple times. And this doesn't have to be for half an hour each time, it can literally be for 20 seconds,
Mm.
45 seconds, a minute.
Mm.
And it is amazing what something so incredibly simple, a mechanism that we're doing all throughout the day, if that one shift happens over a span of just 60 days, their entire life can change just with a simple, deeper awareness that, oh my God, the last 3 days I've been feeling so unworthy. I feel like nothing's going to work out. And with the presence of your breath, you're like, wait, hold on a second. That's not my true boundless nature. I'm not buying into that. So
Mhm.
let me breathe into it. Let me welcome it in. And let me just send that back to the ether because that ain't me.
Mm,
If you're not aware, if you don't have awareness of your breath, you're just taking that on. I'm unworthy. I'm not as good as all the other people out there, all the people on Instagram who I adore, who I admire. But that and it's really something so simple and something that's right in front of our nose, pun intended.
yeah. And I think God makes it simple on purpose. It's not meant to be complicated, but there's so many layers of programming and like distortions. And so, those who have got kids, you've got some real tangible actions you can start doing with your kids before they start their day or even before going to bed. Just do a quick breathwork little activity with them and watch their nervous system start regulating and how they just start to feel more calmer within themselves. And I think that's really powerful what you've just shared there as an action people can take away. And so thank you for that. And yeah, the simplicity of life, right? It really is. And so you call it dimensional breath work, right? And so how did that, what's unique about the dimensional part of it? If you can share that.
When I got back from New York to California and I started going deep, it's so deep into the breath work and spending so much time and just in the darkness at 8, 9, 10 p.m. Almost at pretty much every night during the day, I was dropping into yoga. I was exploring my breath. I was just getting in silence. I was listening to God. I was in a place of utter curiosity and excitement to feel alive truly for the first time, in my life. And I asked this question: Divine God, show me what it would look like to provide a space, a safe, loving space for people to experience God fully with the breath. What does this recipe look like? Show
Mm,
me. And so it kind of just slowly dropped in over a period of days of what it would look like with the exact energetics and kind of like this foundation of kind of almost like building a storyline into the dimensional breathwork and providing the space to potentially access people's multidimensionality and have these beautiful transcendental experiences. Now, many breathwork facilitators all over the world are bringing in, and I hear this everywhere I go and facilitate. Oh, I just attended a breathwork journey last month, but like if I'm being honest, it like wasn't it wasn't great or like it was terrible. And the woman was up there like yelling at everyone like, breathe harder, go faster. And it's just like feel like I'm in like a army boot camp. you know just
mm,
this very hyper kind of masculine energy of kind of like force and
mm,
brute force and like trucking through the journey to kind of almost ensure that people had this blast off experience. But I'm here to tell you that's not coming from the source. That's not
mm,
coming from the more feminine aspect of this existence and unifying the energies internally within us. It's coming from really the ego, the facilitator, as they want everyone to have this multidimensional experience. And that's not the point.
mm,
The point is to allow God to move through each person, to allow God. I don't decide what anyone experiences in my workshops. It's already been decided before they showed up that day. I'm just here to step back and hold the space for them, the
mm.
participants, to realize God and the divinity within each and every one of them. It's just my job to show up and hold a beautiful, safe, loving space and allow the dimensional breathwork to do what it does, which is unveil, reveal, allow a space to cry, to kick, to release, to let go density, to
Mm,
feel love, joy, universal oneness. But I'm not attached to the person that literally just has the most beautiful meditative central nervous system reset.
Mm,
They just feel super present, super rejuvenated in their body. And that is exactly what their soul was asking for,
mm,
without them telling me after the workshop, hey, Andrew, just want to let you know, I didn't have a multidimensional experience, and there was a part of me that wanted that. But then after the workshop, I realized like I got the exact medicine that I needed, and
mm,
thank you. And it's like, thank you. Thank you for just showing up and being present and surrendering to the process and the journey. Because I
mm,
sure as hell didn't decide what you were meant to experience. Like you did. God did. Your guides did. You showed up with the willingness to go into the unknown, and here you are, and proud of you. You know, and
mm,
so there's a what makes, I think, dimensional breathwork really unique is just the energetics in the unseen world that are moving through dimensional breathwork to create this potency of a space for people to realize the divinity and how powerful they truly are with the mechanism that they have had since day one of entering
mm.
this earth.
Yeah, I love that. It's when you can just, I've been had this guidance before, like you're creating the container and then just surrendering and then just letting God do what God needs to do. And we have to have no attachment. We have to get really humble. Like, it's like we're not doing it. We're just providing the container and God's doing what God needs to do. And um yeah, there can be a lot of there's distortions in all of these like practices and the spiritual and non-spiritual. It's everywhere, isn't it? And so when you bring in God in everything that you're doing, that just shifts everything. And so yeah, it's just amazing asking those profound questions. God, show me, reveal to me. You will be shown, but sometimes you get shown and you don't want to know. So are you asking for something and then you didn't like shunting it away? Was there a part of you that didn't trust that intuition that was coming through when God was starting to reveal to you?
I think during that time, I was knowing that I just knew that I was meant to share this. I knew that I was meant to be a mouthpiece and a speaker, a facilitator, a teacher, a wisdom keeper of the breath, because I was just so pulled to it. I was so drawn to it. I was so enamored. Is like
Mm,
the most. I was just like I was just so like this is just amazing, and everyone needs to know about this. I
mm,
think what's so exciting about the breath is it literally does not matter what you do. If you are listening to this podcast, learning more deeply and mastering your own breath will infiltrate every single aspect of your life in a positive way. And then as you get to master your own breath, it's going to infiltrate the way you speak to your husband, the way you relate to your kids, the way you regulate your own emotions, the way you're present in every moment, the way you're able to acknowledge that this programming, this challenging day that you're having is just something that will pass because you have the awareness and the awareness of your breath to move God through that distortion, that energy. But the person who's not aware of their breath and is not conscious is just going into trenches of darkness of being like, oh, just like F my life and things are never going to change. And like, I'm never going to be able to make more money than I'm currently in just getting by and paying my rent. And it's like, with the belief, with the faith, with the trust in God, and weaving that through your breath, breathing in the divine, breathing in God. It's just a continuation of what? Stripping away the non truths to reveal the truth,
mm,
which is what we're all doing right now. And so, no matter what someone's doing, it could be Reiki, it could be a massage therapist, it could be a nutritionist, it could be a naturopath, anything that involves consciousness and evolution, which will be every single person listening to this. You can utilize the breath in your practice through sharing it with people or just simply mastering it, which is why I'm just yeah, just so excited over 8 years and over 15,000 people of sharing this breathwork to finally be planting seeds all over the world, in Europe and New Zealand and in Johannesburg, South Africa, and in Canada and Argentina, and teaching other people how to facilitate dimensional breathwork and how to share this medicine, because it's time, and I'm really excited for people to be sharing this connection of God, this energetic
Mm.
of the breath, to help their community and their people and their clients, and continue to just like a rock going in a lake and just rippling out that seed of love, of remembrance, of consciousness throughout every person that comes in contact with their intimate field and their work.
Beautiful. And I think, there's a lot of breath work out there, and I think the missing piece is actively bringing in God, and that is the key. And for those who are interested in breath work and want to start working and mastering the breath, but don't necessarily have this connection with God, or have got a bit of resistance or blocks with God's, what would you say to those people? Because they might be like, oh, well, maybe there's some religious programming or something.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, look at any religion, and there's plenty out there that calls your own breath like demonic or something like that. Like, good God, could there be any larger of a distortion? Which essentially, and who knows, this might trigger some people, all religion was brought here to separate us, every single one of them. Now, can you find God in a religion? No, certainly. Or can we tap straight into the source itself, into God, without taking any side roads, which is what all of the religions are?
Mm.
Anything that is bringing us into, oh, I'm this, you're this, it's separating us from God. Now, that's not to say that that can't be people's path. That's okay. Someone feels called to go there, if they're there now, if they're finding love within themselves, that's all right. And if there's a trigger, if there's an emotional charge when we get presented something like that, well, it's very simple. This is how our triggers work. It's showing us something where we can be more free. This is how our emotional charges and our triggers work. So if we feel triggered or charged by that, amazing. You just got something revealed to you that's wanting to be tended to, that's wanting to be
Mm.
seen. But anything, any spiritual practice that doesn't involve the breath, for me, that's not the true Christ consciousness, the true Christic consciousness that's beyond any human, any being, any Buddha, Yeshua, anything. The Christ consciousness is a frequency, and the breath has to be incorporated in that, because breath is God's medicine.
And it's free.
Yes.
Like, just doing working with your breath, it's not, you're not going to get charged for just doing work mastering your own breath, unless you want to do a course, of course, but and that's a fair exchange. But yeah, these things, yeah. Um, yeah, it's just really powerful, isn't it? And it's really simple when we really look at it. And even Yeshua was trained in the breath work, and it's through all of these traditions, like breath is, there's power in that for a reason. And so yeah, it's amazing that you've tapped into that and are sharing that worldwide. And you said earlier about when you was really opening up to breath work and this new world that you were finding yourself in, there was a lot of wisdom coming to you and it was a bit overwhelming at time. Is there anything that really stands out, apart from obviously saying breathe God in? Is there anything at that period that this new wisdom that was being shown to you, that stands out?
At that time, it was more of a being really just incredibly humbled and blown away with the depths of, my God, unworthiness and anxiety and disbelief in myself for so many years, to points where when I mean, and we're talking like there were I slept on people's couches and friends' houses for years. I didn't believe I could even function as an adult, as a human being. I didn't even believe I was worthy of even signing my own lease for an apartment. And it was depth of, really, like, the word is like despair, just like complete and utter despair, to like thrive as a human being and believe in myself in any capacity.
Mm.
And so when I started waking up to the depth of leadership that I was here to step into in the coming years and decade, and I started realizing who I truly was beyond those moments where I literally was like sitting in my computer chair and I just had my face in my palms of just like, I hate this existence and this reality. It was just being blown away with the knowing of what was to come in the years ahead, which was not long to lead us into where everything changed, which was March 2020, in the beginning of COVID times and everything. So the thing that really just stuck out the most was just like, wow, look at what you were believing all of those years, of literally believing that you'd never be able to support yourself, you'd never even be able to even live in your own house, own apartment, that you'd never be free. The deep fear I felt of, what if I'm trapped as a slave working in the workforce and punching a clock all my life? Looking at my boss making, 120K a year, and this man doesn't do anything he likes to do because he's a slave to his work, a slave to his job, working 5, 6 days a week and spending little time with his family. And I was just like, that I would do anything to not do, to not have. And yeah, ultimately it was really when I went to India, to South India, and I did my 89-day initiation with Guruji, that I'd say I really didn't know who I was until that time. And when I went to South India and I was in the Nilgiri Mountains in Tamil Nadu, and it was just like I'm meeting with Guruji every other day, a man who lived in a cave naked for years, and
Wow.
had full psychic remote viewing. He could see me on the property. He could see me in different parts of wherever I was. Um, One day he knew I went on a hike when he asked me not to, and I did anyway. With my cook Ravi, he was like, "Don't go up there. There's lots of bears and very dangerous." And I was like, "Screw that. I'm going. I'm going." And he was like, "I saw you went up to." I was just like, "This guy, like, can't." Yeah, which is very comical. But yeah, one time I was sitting with Ma, Guruji's mother, who was 99 at the time, the most special, angelic human that I have ever met or talked to or seen in my entire life. And when I was with Ma, Guruji's mom, I felt like I felt God in every cell of my being, just being in this woman's presence, you
Wow.
know. And she wrote a book about ascension. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And her name's Dr. Amla Chaudhuri, and she passed in 2023, so just a few years ago. Guruji died the next year in 2024. So Dr. Amla was 102, Guruji was only 63.
Wow.
And when Guruji died 2 years ago now, um, yeah, I mean, they played such a significant role in, one thing I like to say is, through the eyes of God.
Mm.
What this means is, people are always coming in your path, planted there by God to show you God within
Mm.
yourself.
Mm.
Meaning, sometimes they're there to trigger you, sometimes they're there to say, "Hey, you're pathetic." And then you're like, "How dare that person call me pathetic or lazy or chubby?" And it's like, if you believe you're pathetic or lazy or overweight or whatever, right? It's only an opportunity to what? Love ourselves more deeply,
Mm.
to strip away the part of us that believes that that's true. Because if you didn't feel that you're lazy or you sleep too much or whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. God's literally working through that message to send to you, to take in, to feel that trigger and be like, okay, I see the perfection in this. I'm
Mm.
willing to see it. I'm willing to feel it. I'm willing to breathe God in this and let it go. And so, through the eyes of God is a saying that is simply the deep knowing and realization and awareness that everything that comes into your field, everything that happens in your life is not trying to take, it's just revealing something
Mm.
deeper within that's wanting to be felt, acknowledged, heard, listened to, an inner child that's sitting there clawing at your attention for years of feeling left behind, unloved, not recognized, not acknowledged. That's the power of the combining inner child work with the breath. You heal
Mm.
the inner child, you change your entire world. And that's what as much as being dictated, right now of many humans and the vast majority of humans all over the world. But I digress to go back to Guruji and time in India with Ma. Yeah, that time was a wow. To say it was special would be the true understatement of the century for me. I was spending 6 to 12 hours a day of meditations and mantras and breathing and very little to no human interaction as I was literally living in a tribal village, at 9, 10, 12,000 feet elevation, with not even a place to even get a tea or a coffee.
Mm.
Just the tribal people living amongst the land. And after I was there for 89 days, all the tribal people, they saw me every day. They, the nod, the hello got more and more kind, more and more warm. And during that time, I'd say the most maybe profound thing I experienced was my very second to last week. And there's many, many profound moments. So this is the tiny snippet of 3 months. But there was a moment where I was walking through the tea fields. I was walking through the tea plantations in the mountains, and I saw, 3, 4, 5 of the tribal women walking by me, and with their perfect brown, dark brown, radiant skin, and I just saw these like walking roses, and it was this level of love and deep reverence and honoring of the feminine and of just women, and just being like, there's like these sacred portals of God that are like ushering life onto earth. And I just like saw like a rose. It was like a sacred rose. And I was just like, whoa, like what is happening? What is happening to you? It was just a realization of the level of purity that felt like ancient, angelic, beyond this earthly realm. In that moment, that I was just like, as I continued to walk past him, I was just like, wow. Um, and that was about, a week and a half, 2 weeks to leading up to me leaving and returning back to, California. Oh, actually, I had another 2, 3 weeks after that of my journey, but it was the end of my time with Guruji. Um, and yeah, just like a really, really, really special time and the most revealing time in my life. And ultimately, what I learned afterwards is I went through that initiation to prepare me for my leadership role. That was my initiation into being more trustworthy, a beacon of light, sharing my voice, standing on the front lines during the vaccine times and sharing what I saw, what I knew fiercely while people, projected and judged and you're dangerous and how dare you. And, but it was the mastering of the breath with Guruji that really, I would say, allowed me to share the breath at the capacity that I was meant to in this life, and to find dimensional breath work and all of those things.
Yeah, beautiful. Do you think that experience you had with those women that you saw, where you saw the rose, was helping to activate the feminine within you as well?
Well, one thing that Guruji shared that blew my mind. This was like the second day we were together. I'm just meeting him, and he's closing his eyes, and he goes, yes, my son, you will support many, many women in this life. That will be the primary focus of your work, will be working and giving safe space to the feminine. And I was just like, what? Okay. And I was just
Wow.
like, and as he said that, it actually landed so deeply because of this relationship I've always had with women and with so many girlfriends at the time, and being very out of my masculine in my earlier years and not having a connection to that and actually shying away from that because um, the masculinity that my dad carried in his wounding was so distorted through being able to hold space for my mom and for the feminine, and what that looked like, and showing up as like a divine man and someone that could hold space, which he had not even an ounce of capacity or patience to do for my mom.
Mm,
So it was absolutely activating that, without question, of just this like deep honoring and reverence and appreciation for God choosing, a woman, all life, every man, every woman to come from a woman,
mm,
from the source, from where a child grows and is birthed. And it was just, and some of these things, and there's even more to share, but I really couldn't even attempt to, because it wants to come through like telepathically, like an energy, because
mm,
it was so beautiful and so profound. I'm just doing my best to articulate the energy, the consciousness that was moving through me, at that time. But yeah, I would say I definitely resisted working, with women maybe at times, because I was like, oh, I feel like I'm supposed to work with more men, and I always felt like it was so important with me to be integral and make sure that my own energetics were reflecting truth. And then, just come to, the last year or two, and I've really come to know that, I work with men too, but I would say 85% is really just being that safe space, for women to continue to trust, brothers or men again. Um,
mm,
as much of the satanic distortion has happened through what? A man's body.
mm,
The war, the genocide, the colonization, the taking of land has happened through a man's body. And so the feminine now more than ever needs to lift our brothers up and give them, permission to lead, permission to be big, permission to be bold, permission to be love, permission to take up space in however God's wanting to move this consciousness, this reality through our great mother, through planet Earth in these coming months and years ahead. And so it will require both to love each other fully and support each other during, what we're about to walk into, because there is no life without the man and the woman coming into community,
mm.
into union, into supporting one another.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm sure people are going to want to know the name of that book from the Guru's mom. So, do you know the name of it?
It is, and the spelling might be a little bit difficult, but is Sri Sathya Baba and the Golden Age. Sri
Oh, okay.
Sathya Baba and the Golden Age, written by
Yeah,
Dr. Amla Chaudhuri.
great. Just in case people ask.
I think that's the first time I've ever shared it on an interview or a podcast.
Oh, really? Oh, there you go then. First time here.
Yeah.
And so you just said something there that you said what we're moving into. So, what are we moving into from your perspective?
Hmm. I mean, everyone can feel there's something different about the energy right now. It's palpable, it's potent, it's literally the turning of tides, the changing of power. For example, the people today who are worth multi hundreds and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, we're coming into a time in these years ahead where that energetic is not going to hold for people who want to rob, take, steal, control, manipulate, colonize. That energy of money, which comes from God, Many spiritual people do not believe that, but what is it? It's
Mm.
just something we utilize in this reality. And we can utilize it for what? For good, for love, for change, for building a new earth. And so as we witness this old world collapse, and it will be a lot. It will be intense. It will be confronting, and we will come to know how deeply we need each other, and how community is not a far off thing that, like, oh, we probably need to do that. No, it's literally about survival. It's about evolution, learning to live amongst each other once again, and literally knowing the person. Oh yeah, that's Robert. He grows all my fruits, all my vegetables. Oh, that's Sarah. Yep, she knits all the children's sweaters out of wool and alpacas that have died naturally. All the wool and alpacas from the sheep and the alpaca. Like, she makes the most beautiful sweaters. Everyone. So it's like we're supporting people. We're pouring into people that have the vision for where we're going. It's all about exchanging our energy, our money, our time, our energy with people that are connected to God, people that
Mm.
are connected to their breath, people that have God flowing through their veins and their blood. And
Mm.
it's having that symbiotic exchange with, as more and more people continue to leave, which we will have many be leaving over these coming years. We're here to create that new earth through our aligned action and through our willingness to see ourselves fully and
Mm.
step into the grandiosity of this mission, which, if you're listening to this, I promise you, the people that you're here to serve and the mission that you're here to step into is far grander than what you understand right now.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, we're here to create that heaven on earth, aren't we? And I think it's doing it all together, coming together to do that. And it does really feel like powerful times like this year. I mean, it's January and it feels like so much is like happening already energetically, and we're only at the start of the year, but it's exciting at the same time. And I think, if you're curious, like, just start, you know, bringing in the light of God through the breath and start asking God to reveal what is your purpose here right now. And it will start to show itself. And yeah, it's definitely powerful times. And so if people are just curious about how they can start with the breath, is there a simple exercise technique they can do daily or in the morning or eat before bed? What's the best time to do that as a quick thing that they can do?
To begin your day powerfully, tapping into your breath within that first 15 minutes, I recommend every single person to do. Sometimes when we go to bed, we'll have kind of like some sludgy energy that maybe we process during dream time. Maybe we just feel a little bit dense, a little bit heavy. Move that energy. Come into your body, come into your heart and feel and move God through you. And then start your day. Go at least 30 minutes without touching your phone and just drink your tea slowly. Go connect with nature, tap into your breath. And of course, if we're feeling a bit, anxious, a bit overwhelmed, make sure you don't go to bed as a self-fulfilling prophecy feeling super overwhelmed and anxious. You have the capacity, you have the ability to go to bed, maybe not perfectly connected to God, like every day is going to be different, right? But feeling more connected to your heart, more calm, more peaceful, more at your true state, your true nature, which once again is God, is infinite, boundless nature. So I recommend just starting to play with your breath. Start at just a practice of just breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose, doing one round. It could be 20 breaths each round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds. But I would say either 2 or 3 rounds or 20 or 30 breaths each. And just doing that takes 7 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes. And that's a great place to start. And for those of you who, are really ready to take an entire leap into what you're here to share, into what you're here to do. For the first time ever, I'm going to be teaching dimensional breathwork facilitators all over the world to share this medicine with their communities, with their people, with their clients. So we even have a lot of people signed up who don't even have a clue if they want to even share their breath, but they're going through it through their own transformation. And I just told some of them, I said, look, be open. You are going to feel completely different and be an entirely different person at the end of this 12 weeks, because this is not just about the breath. This is about New Earth leadership, embodiment, being able to hold God, New Earth stewardship,
Mm.
and mastering your breath and letting God move this breath through you to start sharing dimensional breath, sharing in a different capacity, or just go through a very, very deep metamorphosis with the psychological work that I have everyone do, the inner child work, the mother and father wounding, the shadow work is all part of the program, because I don't want
Mm.
people just to learn breath. I want to help create leaders that are
Mm.
embodied and ready to reclaim this planet back and be a true
Mm.
beacon of light for humanity. So if this conversation, this podcast has sparked an excitement within you, would be honored to have you in my intimate field and share this beautiful wisdom with you and this beautiful journey with you. So
Mm. Yeah, and I'll put your details on your website below in the description so people can check that out. And if for any of your other offerings, it's all on your website, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, and they can just reach out to me at Breathe Heal Evolve. Just send me a DM, and
Yeah.
happy to connect and get a voice memo back. I'm really personable in my messages, so just send a message and happy to connect and drop in.
Beautiful, amazing. So, what is the one thing, and there's probably many, but one thing that really stands out to you since you've obviously gone and done the healing on yourself through the breath, that you can really see, oh my God, like I can see the transition of how I was before to how I am now. Like maybe like you had this debilitating anxiety and it's just gone. And sometimes it comes and goes, but is there anything that stands out where you can it's been healed because of the breath work and God?
It's like my radio station isn't, it's not all scratchy and frictiony, and I'm I've become that true antenna to listen to the divine, and I continue to refine. I continue to listen. I continue to allow the wisdom to pour into me more easily, more effortlessly, like a waterfall, like a
Mm,
river.
mm,
And the breath has really just given me my God. I mean, everything in this life, me being here, me being alive, me not taking my own life wouldn't have been possible if I didn't, find God within me with my breath.
mm,
So it was truly just like the remembering and the knowing that no matter what, if I'm on a train, if I'm on a plane, if I'm walking through the airport, if I'm in my car, if I'm in a farmer's market, always have my breath to return to the knowing of God within me, especially in these years ahead as things get pretty wild. It's
mm,
like the greatest gift you can give to yourself is to know God within yourself and
mm,
accompany that with a deeper awareness of the breath. And that has to be felt through your own gnosis, through your own lived experience.
mm,
So simply do it. Whether
yeah.
that's on your own practice, whether that's with me, whether that's with someone else, just do it. Go
Hmm.
explore, be a child, get curious, and just live it and see how it transpires.
Yeah. And if you really have been curious about wanting to build a relationship with God, like you will start to have that by doing these practices because it happens and your life will change. And it's really simple. And so thank you for doing everything that you're doing. It was profound when I had that experience, and everybody's experience is unique to them. But I'm so glad I listened to that voice saying do breath work. Well, just said breath work to be fair. But is there anything on your heart that you want to share that we haven't covered at all before we wrap up?
I think I feel, yeah, I think I feel complete. The one thing I would like to share to everyone is moving forward. just know that you are the living embodiment. You are the living seed for the new existence. People will look to you for inspiration in what the new earth human walks like, shows up like, acts like, breathes like, lives like. So, like I said, and it needs to be said again, your role here is far bigger than you understand right now. We need you fully in your power. So it's time to step in. No more playing small. No more dimming your light. It's time to rise like the phoenix. Oh,
Oh God, I think I needed to hear that as well. So thank you for that. And I'm sure many, many people, because yeah, we have these voices in our head that tells us we can't do that, we're not good enough, and that is not who we are. So yes. And the guidance I got this morning from Yeshua was, and I thought it was quite hilarious actually. Be like Buffy the Vampire Slayer with these like thoughts that are not yours, like slay them away. Like don't allow
yeah.
them to come in and be like, no, yeah, you're not good enough, and believe that, and no, slay them away.
Bring the energetic machete in there. Just chop it up. It's
Yeah,
not you.
it's not me. Yeah, it's not us. Amazing. Thank you so much, Andrew. It has been absolutely amazing. I've loved this conversation, and I know it's going to help so many people. And yes, I put all your details so people can reach out to you. And yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Please do like, subscribe, and comment and share if you think this is going to help somebody, or someone's curious about breathwork, or want to do Andrew's course. Then yes, please do reach out. But thanks, everybody. Have a blessed day.